So, last class period, which I know was like forever ago, you guys should be able to remember that we kind of introduced this idea of like the DBQ. The idea of the DBQ and kind of like looking at these documents and investigating what each document means. Now, the DBQ on the test tends to be what most people fear the most. The reason why is because the DBQ is worth 25% of your guys' grade on the AP exam. You only get one choice. There's no like 3 options. And everybody gets the same unless we get Form M or whatever. That's kind of this odd one out.
Can you like go over the percentages of the whole test real quick? Because
Yeah, so it's 40% is the multiple choice, 15% is the LEQ, 25% is the DBQ, and whatever that has left is the SAQ, which I believe ends up being like 20%. Huh?
3 essays.
So you write 2 essays and 3 SAQs. Okay, listen. Hey, we're already short on time, so we have to kind of hurry. Now, if you will have out in front of you for right now, this packet that says Imperialism DBQ.
That one. Gotcha.
This packet, Imperialism DBQ. Now, you guys, for the next few minutes, are going to analyze the question that we are going to be doing for this DBQ. Now, there is a small typo. If you look up on the essay prompt, where it says the word difference, if you will change that word to the word different. Different, with a T, not S. So it should be different, not difference. Okay? So here's what I want your group to do. I want you guys to analyze your question, just like you do on any other LEQ. And then I want you as a group to work through step number 2. Okay? So go ahead and get started.
Is this
Reread the question. So work with your group and fill out your paper through question or part 2. Step 2. What?
I literally don't
What's
have
your
a
question?
I don't have one.
You sure? You need something to write with?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is a question. We should probably figure that out at the beginning of class.
You're supposed to star or major argument.
When you talk about star the major argument, are you going to be focusing on causes or effects?
Thank you, Miss Ray.
I'm even going to let you keep it.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You're so generous.
Thank you.
You're like the gift that I'm going to be lost by the time it gets to the paper. In 4th period. No way.
All right. Okay. Bring it back together. So, what type of essay is this essay? The cause and effect, what's the fancy word for that? Causation, okay? So it's a causation. Yeah. Okay? So it's a causation essay. So we're looking at the causes and effects. Now, when it says, what is the major topic of this essay, you should have put down the expanding role of the United States in the world. Okay? So we're looking at the causes and effects of the expanding role. When it says expanding role of the United States in the world, that is basically a definition for what term? Imperialism. Okay? So basically what you're looking at is what were the causes and the effects of imperialism. Now, whenever you go to do a DBQ... Sorry. It's okay. So, when you go to do a DBQ, you always pre-write before you ever look at any of the documents, and I'll explain why later. Okay? So what I want you to do is, with your group, use your packet, because there's a ton of terms in there that you can be able to use. Use your packet that you did as homework, and go ahead and create a T-chart. And in theory, You should have a goal to have at least like 8 causes, because that's really like the majority that you should do, and about 3 effects. Remember, your major argument here is the causes. So really think about what caused imperialism. Think about terms, not just broad ideas. So go ahead and spend about 8 minutes and go ahead and fill out your T-chart. How are you feeling? Good. It's getting...
What's it called? Big stick politics.
Which is insane, but the problem is, mostly it's like, so, well, I'm looking actually in my family which they're really all want to come out. So, I'm not a conservative.
Okay, Alaska.
Okay, steroids a lot. Well, especially at night. So like I sleep usually 40 to 45 minutes at night.
Oh, I just had this around and they're like, oh, the music across the thing.
That's how I was tired. About every 45 minutes. Although it is kind of fun. It's fun to wake up and see my dogs on bed. It's even off in different positions that he sleeps every 45 minutes.
The turner piece is the cause.
But it's home stretch. It's like really close. Yep. I can do it. But
social Darwinism too.
Like whenever on like medical stuff,
You don't say that that because Steve open door policy. Yeah. I think that's what I cause. Yeah.
You could argue on that one.
Clearly, yeah. So, it's just ready to play. Yeah, it's just like we want to be here, but I also don't want to be here. Big stick. Because like the logical side of me is like no more in the heart of it. Yeah. So I'll be out of line. Right after.
I'm going to. I'm going to wear a shirt.
What time is it actually?
I'm going to go So you guys have everything? Maybe you're texting, so I'm assuming that you have everything.
You have like
I feel really good about it.
Because in theory there was like, we'll see. Take about 1 more minute.
Now be an effect.
We texted about life.
Yeah. Is he attractive?
Big stick can also be a cause.
Anti-imperialist league is not that.
Only send your head and not like this. 10 minutes. I wonder if this will flip when I record. It's backwards on that. I think it flips though. Because I think I've tried this in the past and it does flip it. Alright. Okay. Alright, so coming back together. Okay. So, we're going to go ahead and create a giant master list of anything that you could be able to put in this essay. My suggestion would be to write everything that I do down, so you have plenty of opportunities to be able to use it for your essay. Now, one thing as well is you're going to notice that some people might say one thing is an effect, some people might say one thing is a cause. It is all dependent on how you argue the argument in this essay. One thing, though, that I will emphasize is the big star between cause and effect. Which one are we focusing on, cause or an effect? Cause. So if you're able to argue it as a cause, that would be better, because out of the 7 possible points on a DBQ, 6 of them are for causes, 1 of them is for an effect. So what that means is, again, if you run out of time, make sure to always do the big argument first. We had some people on their essays not do that. Okay? All right, so let's start with our causes. What are some causes? Shout them out. Don't be shy.
First and second industrial revolution.
I would put that as a historical context.
Manifest destiny.
So you could say that the second industrial revolution.
Because it makes the stuff they have to sell to other places, and they have to get more raw material.
Yes, and I would personally, I think it's a good historical context, if I were to choose. But you could argue it either way. If you have another one that's a great historical context, then it's great. Okay. Okay, what? Okay, now here's an interesting one. And thank you so much for being my plant and purposely saying that. Because what date was Japan opened? Look on your pen. 1854. And what date do you start your essay in? 1865. But it's okay, because Sam was my plant to make sure that we were to ask that question, so that we could be able to discuss it. Okay? So, what could... Hey, listen. Because you're too much fun to make fun of, I'm sorry. You make fun of me all the time. Yeah. So what could you use the opening of Japan for instead? Historical context, okay? All right, what's another example? But who did we open the door of trade to? China. So what's the term for that?
Open door policy.
Are you kidding me? I was going to see this.
Open door policy.
This is beautiful.
Okay, what else? Okay, social Darwinism.
Big stick diplomacy.
Okay, big stick. And one thing that I want to emphasize about these terms is, remember, there's a lot of terms associated with these terms that you can be able to put that are not these big names. So, for example, big stick diplomacy is through what president?
Theodore Roosevelt.
TR. And, okay, we had one class get this and one class not. You're my tiebreaker. With big stick diplomacy, Theodore Roosevelt felt like he was a blank, which is a term, to Latin American countries in order to kind of say he was going to help them to make sure that they are protected from Europe. What is that term?
Policeman.
The world's policeman, that's right. Good job, JJ. No. Okay. So, yeah, it's in the reading. Okay. Some of you are super chatty, and we don't have a ton of time left. Because I just want to remind you that everything that we don't do is going to be homework. Okay? So, manifest destiny. And then if you think about it with manifest destiny, there's a ton of terms associated. You could do westward expansion with it. All of these are terms that you could be able to use as you go across. Okay, what else? Okay, turn our thesis, which again is up with this manifest destiny. Okay, what else? Okay, Hawaii. Now, one thing about these different territories, okay? So you could put the territories in either a cause or an effect. So, for example, a lot of people will put the territories of like Alaska, because that was kind of our first territorial acquisition. From there, then we start from there and move on. And then a lot of people say that one consequence of Alaska ends up being Hawaii. Now, you could also say that Hawaii is an effect of social Darwinism. Another cause would be trade, and you could say that that was an effect. Or you can also have Hawaii over here and say that Hawaii was a cause, and an effect is the opening of trade into the Pacific. So it really depends on how you argue it. Okay, what else? In theory, we should be saying every major term in this. Okay, Monroe Doctrine. Great, thanks for the plant. So, what year was what year was the Monroe Doctrine?
1820 something.
1820. Which means, is it in this time period? No, but what can we make it? Is into historical context. I know. You just said it afterwards. Okay. JT.
Can you argue that even though it wasn't officially started in the time period, it would still influence the time period?
What?
The Monroe Doctrine.
That's why it's historical context.
Okay.
Yeah. So the major thing with historical context in this, and what we'll realize, is we can also contextualize documents. And so there's one in particular that the Monroe Doctrine has to do with, and you can contextualize it there, or you can contextualize your whole essay. So that's how you add in those things that are before, is you add it into your historical context. Okay, what else? Well, there's something else Roosevelt did. There's another term. It's a really big term. That's Taft. So it's the Roosevelt corollary. And if you think about what the Roosevelt corollary, so that's the one that the historical context would be the Missouri Compromise, or not Missouri Compromise, the Monroe Doctrine. And you can also talk about with this, you can talk about what major development was made in Central America to help trade to Asia. Panama Canal. Okay? Now, one big one, there was a really big war.
Spanish-American.
Yeah, Spanish-American War. Yeah, the American Revolution also happened, but a bit earlier. Yeah. Now, what territories end up coming from Spanish-American War?
My country, Cuba.
Cuba, the Philippines.
Yeah. Bermuda.
Okay.
Bahama.
No. Yeah, you wouldn't look too far into the song. Those ones are not part of this. Okay, what about effects? What other effects can we put? Okay, anti-imperialist, right? You have to have somebody who's against it. What other things? Okay, yep. So that's actually a really good one. I really like that you did that. So, do you have Japanese exclusion, which results from this open door policy? That's a really good one. I haven't had that one yet. I like that. Yeah.
Could you say the treaty, the signing of Kanagawa?
Oh, so that one is, I believe, in the opening of Japan. So with that one, that would be your historical context because it's before the time period.
Okay.
All right. What? Oh, yeah, that's another one we totally missed. I would say this one's a cause, but Alfred Thayer Mahan. Mahan. And what was the effect of Alfred Thayer Mahan? What did we get?
Big stick.
Okay, so then what happens is we get the Navy. And I heard somebody, I don't know who it was, that said gunboat diplomacy. Gunboat diplomacy, though, is in which event? The Japanese one. So that would be before. Although, technically, gunboat diplomacy is used throughout the time period. So you could say gunboat diplomacy on this. You could also do it as historical context as well as the first military. Good. All right. So here would be the next step. Okay. Go ahead and pull out your documents. Pull out your documents. Yeah. It looks like the super fancy schmancy documents. That's what you're looking for. Fancy schmancy documents.
Did the iPad get sealed?
For Sam, it's now on the video. There you go. I do have a vlog, but not for school.
What? We never see it. What do you do?
It's okay. There's a total of like 3 views on each of my videos, and it's basically me and my husband, and then an accidental click. Okay. All right, listen. Okay. They're not very good. Okay. I'm not going to tell you. Okay. Listen. Hey, you might want the instructions for this because it's your homework. Okay. Oh, now you're quiet. So, one thing I want you to notice about this, by the way, what year was this DBQ given? Last year. This is last year's DBQ, which means that this is the most accurate likelihood of what's going to be on the AP exam. Now, if you will also flip on your Imperialism DBQ worksheet to the second page. Step number 4. Okay, this is your homework because we got a little distracted and so we're a little behind. Okay? So, here's what you are going to do. For each document in your packet, you're going to fill out this chart. So the first section says, what is it telling you? Is it telling you we should have a bigger Navy? Is it telling you that the frontier is closed with the Turner thesis? What is it saying? Then you do associated terms. Is this Roosevelt corollary? Is this the open door note? What is this? Then, side of the argument, could you use this as a cause, an effect, or both? It should take about 15 minutes to do, approximately. Okay? So, I want you to have just this page filled out through step number 4 by next class period.
Really? That it?
Yeah, that's it. Okay, put my desk back together.